Hello everyone, I'm Jack. Welcome to episode 51 of the Safe File Podcast. In this ep, we're chatting about GTA 6's massive leak. Overwatch 2 is nearly here, but it's sort of whelmed. Sony and Nintendo had some game announcements, and Cyberpunk 2077 is back on the menu. Joining me today are two fine gentlemen. One is Mr. Anf. How are you?
Yo, I'm pretty good. And yeah.
The other person joining me is, of course, Charbs. How you going?
Hey, Josh unfortunately caught Ebola, COVID, and the Spanish flu. He won't be joining us tonight.
But he's okay.
For now.
But we have a moment of silence for Josh. Oh, wait. He's okay? Oh, never mind.
No, he's just out. He's not good for podcasting, so all good. It's just us three. That's all good. We're going to start off with a little minor story that happened. GTA 6 got leaked. Massively. With just absolutely hacked, and yeah, so Rockstar had to deal with the fact that over 90 bits of footage were released from the game, with assets and code from the game as well, all online. Just this was nuts. This was everywhere. Like, I saw non-gaming news sites and people who were talking about it. It's just like, whoa, this is nuts. It's just like one of the biggest stories we've had. And yeah, so Rockstar confirmed that yes, they had a hack and they're trying to affirm what's gone on. But they've actually said, surprisingly, that any long-term development, basically everything's cool. It hasn't affected everything. It's all okay. But it's big enough that the FBI got involved, which sort of good, I think. I think you guys would say as well, given that, yeah, this probably shouldn't happen. What are you guys' first reactions to this?
Can I just say, as the resident GTA player, this guy is very ballsy, because not only did he leak the footage and like screenshots and bits of code and things like, oh, not bits of code, he leaked a lot of code, but he did it and then said to Rockstar, I'm still willing to make a deal. And if you guys know anything about Rockstar, you know they're not the type to make a deal with you, they'll just deal with you themselves.
And they did, because the FBI got him.
Like this.
Yeah, when I read that, I'm like, this guy's trying to get a deal and the FBI got involved. Good luck.
He's
See you,
just a 17-year-old kid, or is it 18? Either one.
I don't know. Either way, it's... Look, you know, he's probably thought, oh, you know, this will be a really cool thing to do, but I think what people learn very quickly is that this is not a good idea to do. Doing this will hurt. It's actually hurt, like, developers, and it's just sort of like, you know, it's felt really crappy for the game to get out there so early, and, you know, Rockstar said it's not affecting everything, which I'm sort of surprised at. But yeah, it's nuts. This was just wild.
Well, let's just say that this kid's life is essentially ruined at this point.
Well, he hasn't been caught, I suppose, but yeah, I think if he is that young, and just like, there's obviously just no thought behind this, but I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you just can't think this is a good idea, surely.
Nah. It was kind of funny though, because when like GTA 6 got leaked, everyone was looking at this footage going like, it just looks like ass or some shit like that, or it just looks fucking terrible. And you know, I'm pretty sure half these people don't know what game development.
Oh, this is just wild. Everyone was saying the game looked crap, and everyone who's actually in like the game industry is like, yo, you think like one of the tweets that blew up was that someone said, oh, this game looks like, you know, what was it, that the design is the first thing that's, you know, finalized and finished, and basically once he tweeted that, all he got was just replies from game devs, people in the industry, people who know way more than he does, clearly, who were like, You think that's the first thing that's done, buddy? Let me teach you.
Yeah, look.
What it's actually caused, I think, is even better. It's just different companies like Insomniac, Cult of the Lamb devs, just all these sorts of game devs, everyone going, yeah, so, no, that is not the first thing that is finalized. Let us show you everything that... Let's show you how the games really look before we go and fine-tune everything.
The funniest was, I saw someone, I can't remember who it was, on Twitter. They opened Unity and put a cube in there, and they're like, they're like, GTA 7 screenshot from early development. Like, I don't think people realize, like, how games start. Do they just think, like, you open an engine and, like, the world is there, fully formed with code and everything?
You telling me it doesn't work like that?
Apparently not.
As the only one who hasn't worked in the industry specifically. I just think this... It's just wild, like, this... I'm actually really happy that they've said it hasn't affected any development and everything, because that was my big concern, because I was reading stuff, obviously, I don't know how true it was, or if they got their info wrong or anything, but saying that, if the code leaks out like this, it's, like, super bad, and basically mean they'd have to redo everything, but it seems like it's apparently not that much of an issue.
I guess it proves that's how early in development it is, I guess.
Yeah, like, I actually thought for being, like, I don't know, Charbs, how far away would you say GTA 6 is?
What, from
3?
From completion?
4 years release?
Oh, man.
More?
It's
like,
hard,
years.
It's hard to say, because from what was told, the stuff that we seen in the leak was early gameplay. So,
yeah,
it's not like he picked out, whatever the latest, stuff is, and he's just shown us that. It's early gameplay. It's hard to say how much further it's progressed, and
yeah.
like the thing.
I'll be honest, I didn't think it even looked that bad.
No, not at all. But like the thing you have to remember as well is that this is Rockstar. Rockstar are very cautious when they release a game, and I don't mean games they've published. I mean games they've developed. Games they've published are a whole nother story, but like you guys, I mean, not Jack as much, but like if you know how much goes into like a game like Red Dead Redemption, like the little details Rockstar put in, like
yeah, they put in a heap.
Like even like you can go back now and you can find videos titled like things you didn't know about GTA 4 and find out things you did not know about a game that released in fucking 2008. Like that's the level of detail Rockstar put into their games. It is fucking ridiculous, and it's hard to say, because it's hard to say, when a company like that is satisfied with a product, and let's be real, anytime you pick up a game by Rockstar, you are expecting a certain level of quality. There are some companies where when you pick up a game, you hope it's good, but you legitimately don't know if this objectively is going to be a quality product, whereas Rockstar, like, till now, a lot of people will still say that if you pick up a Rockstar game, there's a lot of confidence in that product.
Yeah, I'd still say that. That feels pretty true, for the most part, yeah.
Like, if you pick up, like, the next EA published game, there are people that just won't touch it because it has an EA logo on it.
Correct, yeah.
Whereas I've never met anyone who's like, oh, that's a Rockstar game, that's going to objectively be a bad game.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you look at GTA 5 and you know damn well it's the AAA game. Because look how many times it got released, like re-released, right? And how many people...
More than Skyrim.
Yeah, more than Skyrim.
No.
And like and there's a huge player base still online to this day.
GTA has been re-released more times than Skyrim. It's had 2 re-releases.
Yeah, well, Skyrim's had multiple anniversary editions.
How do you have multiple anniversary editions, though?
Because you have a 5-year and a 10-year, and I goddamn bet you there's going to be a 20-year when it happens.
Man.
It's the thing that Phil just can't stop touching.
Yeah, but the question is, if it comes to PS Plus Extra, will it be the PS3, 4, or 5 version we get?
Oh god.
Bro, if the Elder Scrolls 6 doesn't come with fucking Skyrim, I'm gonna be massively disappointed.
Imagine you like put in the Elder Scrolls 6, and it's like, it just starts out, and you just like, oh wow, I can't wait to see. It like pops up on a black screen, a game by Bethesda, published by Microsoft Game Studios, and you hear like a cart moving, and then your character opens his eyes, and like, oh, you're awake.
Oh, you're finally awake.
I will absolutely laugh if Starfield starts with that quote.
What I 100% want in some way in the next Elder Scrolls is them just to acknowledge it, whether or not it's in like a book or like just some little piece of like lore or something, just because it's become so goddamn like iconic. It would just be great.
You know what I would do if I was in charge at Bethesda? I'd say this. I know exactly how I would start Starfield, and it would start out with literally Skyrim, and then when the dragon shows up, you get killed, and then your character wakes up and they're on a ship, and they're like, "Oh, you're finally awake."
Oh no, Charles, I know what the line they're gonna say is. They're not gonna say, "Oh, you're finally awake." They're gonna say, "Oh, you're finally out of cryostasis."
Or just link the world, you know.
I really don't know what to expect from GTA 6. The leak was, even before Rockstar acknowledged it, it was pretty clearly legit. Because there was, even for a game in development at like an alpha stage, there was a lot of attention to detail. I know a lot of it was placeholder stuff, but
yeah, I feel like there was just too much stuff for them not to play.
It was like detailed enough where I would honestly say I can't imagine someone just making that for fun and then being like, "Oh, I leaked it." And the stuff that was leaked, like the quantity of it was substantial enough where I'm like,
yeah, there was just so much of it.
I was like, no one
like...
went through all of that just to pull a hoax like this.
This isn't some guy on 4chan who's got like a paragraph of detail.
It's like, oh, my uncle works at Rockstar.
Yeah. What I think was good out of this though was it got people talking about like how games are made and just giving people a little bit more insight into that, which I thought was sort of cool, and just not like trying to school people, but just sort of being like, no, you know, these games take time, and there were lots of threads of different developers going, hey, this is what we do at this stage, and this is how this evolved, and I just thought it was really cool.
Am I smug to think that I'm disappointed that a lot of people aren't informed, or
no, no, not at all.
No, but people. I don't think it's even... You're not smug for it. I just think people quite often don't know the background between some of the stuff they consume. It's just...
Because we live in the digital age, right? We're well into, several console generations
people
now.
Are stupid by nature.
Also, people just don't go and look up stuff. They're just... A lot of the backlash I saw was on Twitter. Twitter, as much as I love it, is not the most informed place.
Put it this way, Anf, right? People don't always care, it's rare that people care about where their stuff comes from. A lot of people say they do, but they don't, right? 99% of the people who I know that own a car could not tell me how an engine works. Right?
Neither could not me. I can't.
Yeah, there are people that are into it. I like my cars. There are people who are into it, but go up to any random motherfucker and just be like, can you explain to me how the internal combustion engine works? And they'll just fucking look at you dead-eyed. It's normal to not understand that stuff. All we hope is that the people who made it understand it. You know? Yeah. Humans don't want knowledge, they want convenience. I'm being dead set. If you put...
That feels like that should go on a shirt or something.
No, but that's true. These days, you hear so much about people who, would rather just Uber Eats rather than cooking a meal at home. You don't know what a restaurant is putting in that fucking food. Alright, it might be a meal you've had a lot of times, but you don't know where the meat came from, you don't know where the vegetables were grown, things like that. But...
This also harkens...
Some of the restaurants, they don't know where it comes from.
This also harkens back to, crunch culture, right? We got a lot of people on Twitter talking about the things, and then like raising awareness of like the problems with crunch. But realistically, a lot of people do not give a fuck.
Exactly. If people can sit there and be like, I care about crunch, but then they wear Nike shoes. Like, fair enough, man. I don't think it's like it's okay to be ignorant, but don't be ignorant and then complain that like, oh, I'm super knowledgeable. You can't call me ignorant.
Yeah, and you got you got the whole thing with like Nabisco, right? Like the whole bullshit going on there. People are still buying Oreos, like
yeah,
and nothing's stopping them. Like if it tastes nice, they're not gonna stop. I mean, like I hate to say this. I mean, actually, no, I love to say this because I say it a lot. But like fuck, I'm having a brain freeze right now.
But like the thing is, right, people will actively do things that are bad for them when you think about it. Like, we know how unhealthy smoking is, like cigarettes, and tobacco companies are making record profits. I know how bad it is to drink Pepsi or Coke, but I literally have a can in my cup holder right now in my chair. Granted, I remember what
the word I was meant to say now. I remember the word now. Boycotts don't do shit.
No, they
as much as you think.
Boycotts only work when it's done
as a collective.
Exactly. Like, here's the thing.
But it has to be like a collective, not like if us and our group of mates all boycotted a game, it would do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality is there are certain companies that have gotten a lot of bad press, but it makes no difference to the boardroom if the company's got bad press, but they're bringing in record profits. And a lot of the times, that's why you see these companies kind of lean into the image they have. Like, let's be completely honest here, right? EA is kind of the poster boy for shitty practices in video games. But there's a reason.
I feel like Activision and Ubisoft are catching up.
Oh yeah. But, like, there's a reason EA still put loot boxes in everything. Because it makes money.
Yeah.
And, like, as long as they can fucking go back to their investors and their stakeholders and be like, look how much money we made this quarter. They don't give a shit where that comes from. Like...
Or how they do
it. But, like,
it.
that's reality, man. That's business,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you can make $1 legitimately versus $100 in a very grey area that hasn't been, that hasn't had legislation done against it yet, you're gonna milk that $100 for as long as you can. You know what I mean? That's what we're seeing in, like, loot boxes, for example.
What a great way to transition, Charbs, to Overwatch 2!
Oh, man, and it's gonna get more negative here.
Which got rid of loot boxes, but don't worry.
They found another way to fuck over the player base.
They're making up for it. Don't worry. Oh,
so
we should have recorded the pre-podcast because I was mad.
Shit.
All right, there,
Ed. Oh yeah, no, just repulsed by Overwatch.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give you guys a scenario, right? You are a gamer, right? And you play mostly single-player games. Most of your friends play single-player games. And, like, as a result, Overwatch didn't appeal to you. You don't like playing with random people. And you're like, I don't want to pay full price for a game with no single-player campaign. And I don't really have anyone to play with. It's not my kind of game. It's not my friend's kind of game. But then Overwatch 2 gets announced. And you hear, well, it's going free to play. And this game that was many people's Game of the Year in the year it released, you're actually going to get to experience it without paying a dime. In comes Activision Blizzard.
Sounds good. Where can I sign up?
In comes Activision Blizzard to tell you, hey, we have 32 characters in this game, right? But we're finding fans are overwhelmed by the amount of content we have. So as a result, if you're a new player, you don't get to play with the entire cast until you've played 50 matches of Overwatch to unlock them all.
That doesn't sound rewarding at all. Why?
Let that fucking sink in, right? Okay, you can argue whether or not they should have locked characters off. I don't think they should have. But moving past that for a second, the reasoning they gave absolutely gave me the shits.
Okay, let me give you a bit of background. So, for starters, Overwatch 2 is coming out next week. Now, I do not think they are marketing this very well, because I totally forgot about it. I was like, what? Jeez. It feels like a AAA game that, you know, should be on the radar, but okay. Anyway, I knew it was coming out in October, I just didn't realize it was so early. Anyway, we've learned a lot more about some of the details, so yes, the Charbs is right. What they've said is that, you know, you'll need to unlock all the heroes by playing the game. That's interesting, given that, you know, Overwatch 1, you just had access to all 30... I think it was 21 we looked at, Charbs,
Yeah, it was
at the
21
start.
at launch.
21 at launch. You just had access to all those heroes and away you go. Now, in those times, we didn't even have any sort of, like... Wait, was that even when we didn't have limit, Charbs?
Yeah, there were no
Charbs,
hero
or was that
limits. You could play whoever you wanted.
So, you know, you could end up with 6 Hanzos.
Oh, no. That was culled
Was that one
before
of
the
them?
release, I think.
Okay. Anyway, basically, you could pick 6 DPS heroes, you could pick 6 defense, whatever. So, that was interesting in itself, but it meant that, you know, people could play who they liked, you know, sort of get in a groove. You could even try and work out a specific comp strategy with your mates. Sort of cool.
Yeah.
Problem is now, they say you're going to have to complete around 100 matches to unlock all of Overwatch's heroes, which, if you're basing off around a 15-minute game, it's 20 total hours in-game. I suppose it doesn't include load times. That's, to me, a problem. And I say that because Overwatch 2 is designed, or Overwatch has been designed, around the idea that you can counter-pick mid-game. So that really gets you into a bit of a problem when, say, Charbs is dominating with a particular hero. I go, oh, let me go and pick that hero. Oh, I haven't played 20 hours this season to go and use the hero that would try and be a counter to him. Well, our team can't do anything. And this is going to get worse given the fact we already have role queue. So you're limiting a player's choice by role queue in itself. Then you've got limits behind the heroes they even have unlocked. This just seems like it's going to be a problem, I feel.
Oh no, it is going to be a problem. Like, among my friends, I've probably been the one who's been most vocal about how much I hated role queue. Blizzard...
I don't like it.
Blizzard's... So, I'll explain why. So, Blizzard sat there and they go, alright, well, when people join quick play, everyone's just playing DPS. It was a very small percentage of people that were actually playing whatever their team needed, right? And as a result, there were times where, like, if one team had a proper comp with, like, say, 2 healers, a tank, and 3 DPS, and the other team was just 6 DPS, it was harder for the team with all DPS, and then everyone would argue about, oh my god, we need a healer, but I don't want to switch to one.
Oh, you need a change. No, I need a change.
Yeah.
You know.
But then they added role queue. And the problem with role queue is it put a band-aid over, like, a fucking C-section scar. It doesn't work like that. You can't sit there and say, I'm going to force people to play support, because guess what? Your supports can still attack. So what did people do? They just went to the supports that can do the most damage. And they play them as damage heroes. Same thing with tanks. Oh, who's the tank that has minimal team responsibility? Roadhog's a 600 HP DPS pretty much in the hands of these people. It's a case where people didn't want to play in that role and you forced them to. So now they just...
People didn't want to do the thing, you forced them to do the thing, and... Yeah.
The other thing that I hate is, like Jack said, Overwatch was originally built for, like, counter-picking and things like that mid-game. And the fact that
it's not like LoL or Dota where you're locked into a character, and this is, you know, because that's what people would bring up. People would go, oh, in LoL and Dota you don't have access to all the heroes. No, but once you pick that hero, you're stuck with it for the game. Yeah. You can't swap. So the fact that Overwatch has relied on this, used it as part of the game, makes me annoyed that they're now going to limit, like, how are you meant to know that you can use a counter pick hero when you never play it? You never, because you haven't unlocked it. It's just frustrating to me.
Like, honestly, the whole, like, some of the most fun you can have in Overwatch with your friends is just doing stupid fucking strategies. And you can't have that anymore in, like, quick play games, or even in even in competitive games if you're, like...
I don't mind the fact that in some of those... I know in some of the modes you could do all 6 of a character. That I understand why they didn't let us do that in normal, like...
No,
games
you
and
shouldn't.
whatever,
You shouldn't
but...
have like 6 Hanzos, but at the same time, like
Yeah.
They shouldn't
But,
have.
like...
They shouldn't have forced roll queue because it didn't solve.
Yeah.
Whenever you try to change a video game's design, right after you've released it, you need to ask yourself as a designer: does this solve the problem that I'm facing? Roll queue didn't. All roll queue did was, oh, okay, now they're forcing me to play a tank like Reinhardt. Well, I'm not going to put my shield up. I'm just going to swing and do damage. I'm just going to charge into the enemies. Like, that person probably didn't want to play a tank. They probably wanted to play a sniper, but you took that option away from them. And the worst thing is, if you are someone who only likes playing DPS, you got the shittest end of the stick, because now you got to wait 20 minutes for a fucking match. Oh, sorry. If you're lucky, you can earn those quick passes. Which, like, when you have to give someone a fucking fast track ticket to play the game that they've paid for, that's pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, I still don't like the quick passes, and I generally play tank or support anyway, so...
Like...
It's just frustrating what they've been doing to this game, and then the other thing that they're doing that I can't... Which is frustrating. So the new hero is going to be on the battle pass, locked behind level 55, which we don't know exactly how long it's going to take, but I tell you it won't be 4 hours of play. So the new hero will be level 55, the battle pass, and, you know, just for an example, it's a support. What if she's really good support and might fit your team comp? Well, tough luck if, you know, one of the players picks the only other support that you like or can use in a game, and Kiriko would be the next best option. Tough luck, you gotta play more.
Oh, and if Kiriko would be a good counter pick on the enemy team, eat shit.
I just don't like this system. I
feel like Overwatch lost its core identity, if that makes sense. Like, honestly...
I mean, that's what they're trying. They're almost trying to lose their core identity by going away from the idea of counterpicking and stuff.
Here's the thing. Overwatch's heroes were designed so that you need to experiment on how to use their abilities in a way that maximizes their potential. Like, sure, you could be Lucio and keep yourself on fucking health boost, but does that really maximize Lucio? It doesn't. Go watch any pro Lucio players. You'll know how you'll see him swap constantly between speed boost and health regen and things like that. It was all about learning the playstyle of the hero that suits you and then finding a way to maximize it with your team. And that is something that takes a long time. And that's where a lot of replayability came from. But now, if you get bored of a character but you haven't unlocked
now
the
it's
next
not
one...
now it's not replayability, it's just game time. It's just grinding.
It's straight up just grinding. And like, the same people who look and they, oh, you know, this game's a grind, this game's a grind. Overwatch has to be added to that list now.
This for me is just, I've discussed it on this podcast before, but it's just that newfound thing where we're not just worried about sales anymore, we're worried about playtime. We're worried about the hours that people are spending, and that's just, it's just frustrating. People don't want to have that many hours. What if you want to play a couple of different other games and you just don't want to play Overwatch? The argument's going to be, well, pay, but that's not why people are getting into gaming. You just want some entertainment for your free time, and this is just nuts.
I can't remember if I said this on the podcast or if I said this just in Discord with us, but I think I distinctly remember saying, playtime is the stupidest way to measure the quality of a game. A game can be 400 hours and shit. That is pure fact. You can have some games that are 4 or 5 hours and they're amazing. You can have games that are 10, 20 hours and are amazing. You can have games that are 100 hours and amazing. But at each of those like time lengths, you can also have an equally shit game. Honestly, I know people that have said like, I don't want to get into this game because it's too much of a commitment. It takes too many hours to actually like do the content.
Yeah. It's because games have gone through bloat, and this is just Overwatch trying to do the same thing. And I love that they're going through bloat when the fact one of the biggest problems with the game is that it hasn't had any content.
But like, at the same time, I don't like it because it doesn't suit everyone as well. Like, it's not something you can say, you know, this person likes quality, this person likes quality. That you can measure. But if you say this person likes really long games and this person likes really short games, the guy who likes long games isn't going to be happy with a 4-hour campaign. Like, I'm like, be honest. Like, that's the reality of it. Is game length is something where you shouldn't make a game longer just so you can up your playtime. Honestly, like, we've played some amazing little games that don't take that long. I mean, Anf, I know you can attest to this as well. But, like, there are some games that are amazingly designed that only take a few hours.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, Stray at the start of the year was widely praised by so many people, and the game was like, you know,
Yeah.
you could finish it in a night if you really wanted. Like,
I played Midnight Fight Express, which was a game I was so happy for a very long, like, I was following it for a very long time. It's not the longest game in the world. I fucking had a blast playing it.
Yeah, I remember a game like Journey back on like the PS3, and like I played it on the PS4 when I had like PSN Plus, but that game is like a solid 2 or 3 hours, and it did what it needed to do in the hours it gave.
I think
one of the best games of our generation was Bastion. The average length for that is 6 hours.
Even
Thank
games
you,
like
Supergiant.
even Hades, right? Even though that game can be like 30 hours if you put in like if you go through the story, but a run doesn't take you very long. Like, it shouldn't take you an hour.
No, roguelikes generally don't, but yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Like, if you plan to just blast through that game for one run, then it's not going to be a long
like,
game.
here's the thing, right? Just because a game has a lot of content, it doesn't mean it's good content. Like, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a game I've been meaning to play for ages. I liked Origins. But you know what the biggest complaint I've heard about Odyssey is? It's bloated.
I feel like Valhalla's worse.
Like, oh, they've just put shit in here to run up the hours. And I know you've said that about
I feel like
well.
Valhalla's worse. Like, honestly, Valhalla's worse for me. I enjoyed Overwatch. Sorry, Overwatch.
Origins.
I enjoyed Origins. I enjoyed Odyssey. Valhalla felt like a grind. I did need to take a break from Odyssey. I think that was my own fault, but Valhalla was a grind. Everyone knew it was a grind, and I enjoyed the game, but it was just too long.
Do you think, like... Because I saw this on Twitter once, that, like... Because it's such a popular genre no matter where it's from, do you think, like, RPGs have ruined, like, the scale of gaming?
I wouldn't say RPGs have ruined it. Like, here's the thing, RPGs are...
I don't think it's the fault of RPGs.
Yeah, I would have blamed them, but RPGs as a genre, they lean into having very long experiences. Because an RPG is all about progression, right? And it's hard to make a lot of progress in a game where the game is only a few hours. It can be done, sure, but it's hard. RPGs are about experiencing long journeys and things like that.
Yeah, it's like the journey's actually the whole
Like, when
point.
I hear, like, Persona 5, and someone tells me, oh, it's got, like, I don't know, 80 hours of content, I go, yeah, I expect that. Like, granted, I mean, this is just me being objective. I am about to pop a blood vessel hearing me say this, but, like, yes, there is a lot of repetition in RPGs in some ways, but they lean.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna get pop a vessel on that.
But,
You're
like,
right.
That's what they're designed about. They're designed leaning into it.
Yeah.
Something like Pokemon, the battle system is very basic in some ways, but Along
It's
the
so
way,
cool, yeah.
you're messing with what Pokemon you're using, what moves they have. You're learning new things along the way, and that's great because you're just discovering things. RPGs are about discovery.
Damn it, English was right. It's about the journey.
But what about like the fact like there's people that do say that there's like an overabundance of them. Like the
No,
reason
there
why...
is. I think that's the problem, that all these companies are just leaning into it because for the sake of it, almost because they
That's what I'm trying. That's the point I was trying to get. What I saw on Twitter that was trying to get across.
Yeah.
It's not so much that the RPGs themselves as a genre is at fault. It's just the fact that there's an overabundance of them.
Well, no, I think everyone's just leaning into the RPG. Like I think that's what Assassin's Creed did, and lots of other games are using RPG-like mechanics, whether or not it classifies itself as an RPG, but using RPG mechanics to sort of as a way to bulk out the game, whether to make it more grindy, whether to make it stat checks.
If there is,
all sorts of different ways to just extend that out, and it's just what's happened.
Like, because I remember our Charbs saying, like with Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, I'm gonna assume that Ubisoft, I think you said this, Charbs, Ubisoft looked at The Witcher 3 and just went, yeah, that's what people want.
Yeah, I said
that
as a joke that after all the praise The Witcher 3 got, Ubisoft were like, do it, make it, put an Assassin's Creed logo on it.
I don't think you're too far from the truth.
Which, look, I get, everyone emulates popular games. That's why, every game in the PS2 era was an open world sandbox. But...
yeah.
How many Dark Souls likes have we had at this point?
But it's a case where, you have to do what is right and what your fan base wants. I never liked the idea of Assassin's Creed making RPG games. And the reason for that was because people love the series, but they didn't love it because, it's got RPG mechanics. They loved it for the story. They liked the action-adventure aspect of it. They liked the gameplay that it had before. Now, you just can't visit areas in Assassin's Creed Origins. I'm replaying it. You just can't visit certain areas if you're, nowhere near the level of it. You'll just get your head kicked.
See, I don't mind. See, that's the annoying part, because as more of an RPG fan, I haven't minded that aspect. But it took it away... we're going to go back full circle. Took away from the core principle of how the game was originally made and designed. Like with what we're talking about with Overwatch, how it was designed, how they originally envisioned it. It's not how the game... And I understand games progress, and especially with something as long as Assassin's Creed. The franchise has been going for that long. But I think it was clear that that wasn't really how the series started out.
Yeah. I remember a friend getting the active shits because he's played Assassin's Creed since 1, 2, all the way back then. But when he picked up Valhalla, he was really pissed off with the fact that he had to level grind in an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
And I get that feeling. You don't play Assassin's Creed just to kill a certain enemy or mob over and over until you get to the next part of the story because you're under-leveled. And that just sounds annoying.
It's sort of anti-Assassin's Creed and how they've sort of developed. But yeah, I think what this entire long conversation gets to is that we're not keen on what Overwatch is doing. We're going to say, look, it is free to play, so I'm probably going to check it out because I don't have to pay anything. And good. Because I'm not happy with what they're doing here. I think that they could have done this another way. I was discussing before the podcast with Charbs, maybe, they could have had some tutorials for heroes. If you wanted to lean people into a certain way and go, hey, we don't think you should try this super hard hero, but maybe these heroes, these are the ones we're going to give you some practice tutorials on. These are the ones we're going to introduce you to. Then here's the full roster. Go for it, but here's the ones that you intimately know now through our tutorial system.
Can I also say, just because I want to hammer this point home, the fact that Activision Blizzard used the word overwhelmed in their reasoning. Players were overwhelmed with the amount of content we offered. And I'm just like, mate, you had no single player campaign. and you had one main game mode. Sure, you had arcade game modes, but those were all like side things. Overwatch is one main game mode. And you're gonna sit there and be like, oh, they were overwhelmed with content. If this was League of Legends, like I think we looked it up just before we recorded this, and League of Legends has like 160 something heroes. That is overwhelming.
Yeah.
But
And by the way,
35.
I know they've been going for a very long time. I looked up Dota. Dota had a lot of heroes. A lot of heroes on launch. And yes, it was overwhelming. People got used to it. Guess what? People get used to it. It probably is you do need an onboarding process, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why tutorials would have helped. If you were launching PvE at the same time, hint, hint, maybe that could have been a good way to onboard people with new heroes so they don't go into PvP and get stopped. But no, we're not launching with PvE. That, I'm telling you, that's annoying. And I can't believe they're still doing that, because that was one of the big... When they announced Overwatch 2, that was a big deal. But hey, We're here. It's coming next week. We're going to see how it goes.
Yep. Next week, Ratchet & Clank will announce that they're going to release a game where the weapons are locked behind the battle pass.
Sorry, that's Jack's rant. God, I didn't know it.
Nintendo were gonna release fucking Breath of the Wild, where like, yeah, where in the next game you have to fucking beat like the fucking temples, but they're all locked behind the battle pass, and you have to level up before you get to them.
$1 a dungeon.
Oh god, that sounds like...
Anyway, should we actually talk about Nintendo?
Yes, we should.
They had a direct.
They did. And
most surprising thing is Breath of the Wild 2 is not Breath of the Wild 2. It's Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom.
It's Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, you mean?
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So pedantic.
Breath of the Wild 2 is not Breath of the Wild 2, it's Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom.
Funny they did name it that though, because
Apologies
around
on my own note taking.
around that time when they when the Nintendo Direct was happening, a certain funeral was happening, and the UK couldn't show the Direct during the time
So
this was
wild.
going.
I still don't know why they did that.
Well, look at
They
the name
literally
of...
put the VOD up afterwards, and I'm like, what? And I'm pretty sure other regions could look at it. They just had the specific UK version.
Did they remove Zelda at the end of something because of the name?
I don't know if that's actually true.
Jeez.
I really hope it isn't, because I can't imagine people getting offended at that. I mean, I can, but I really hope they aren't.
Like, that would be something you say on Twitter that's a meme, but not like, you know, they clearly weren't going for that, but whatever.
Can I just say, I'm never going to make a prediction about Nintendo Directs again, because I had a talk with Anf the day of the Direct. So for us, our Direct was shown at midnight, local time.
They're usually pretty late for us, unfortunately.
Yeah. And as a joke, I sent Anf a tweet I came across where someone goes, I hope it's just all RPGs that they show at the Direct. And I go to Anf, man, this is bullshit. Fuck these people. I hope it's all Call of Duty. And
what happened?
At the Direct, it was all RPGs and farm games.
No, it was all farm games.
Every time another RPG or anime game came up, I'm like, how you feeling, Charbs? How you feeling? And he was quiet the whole Direct.
I
didn't even hear about it. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
I would see a game and I'd be like, oh, this art style looks really interesting. And it would be like, gather some carrot seeds and farm. I'm like, god damn it!
In fairness, I don't play every farming game, but I've enjoyed my odd farming game, so, you know.
You know the best part?
Honestly, when it comes to Nintendo Directs, I either love 90% of it or I have no interest in 90% of what they show.
I'll be honest, I mostly don't. Like, a lot of it is like JRPGs and stuff and just other stuff that I'm just not going to get into. I feel like it's too far gone for me. But a lot of it looks super cool. Like, so much of it is just...
You know what's funny, though?
So,
like...
If I was going to let you go, there's a new Fire Emblem. Tell me all about it.
I was about to get to
here we
that
go.
actually.
Alright,
So,
Charbs, toilet break
Yep.
time.
So like Charbs was like, as he said, he was expecting the quote unquote weeb
I wasn't
tears
expecting
that
it.
night.
I just wanted it to happen to piss you off.
And well, what was the first game that came up?
Tell us, Anf.
And the first game that came up was Fire Emblem. And as soon as I saw like the
Maybe
freaking
the king of it.
when I saw the freaking like ring with all like the heroes and the dragons and shit, I'm like, I know exactly what this is, and I'm here for it, and I'm laughing.
Charbs is not here for it.
And Charles was like, "God damn it!" like,
I took one look at the fucking logo, and I'm like, oh no.
You knew what it was instantly, didn't you?
This is gonna be a long
This is gonna be a long
fucking
direct. Oh no.
Look, Charles was crying, I was cheering, and that was freaking like the highlight of that part of the beginning. So yeah, no, the new Fire Emblem game got announced called Fire Emblem Engaged, which is probably gonna have a bunch of sequels like Fire Emblem Divorce and Fire Emblem
Child support.
So so Fire Emblem Engage is or Fire Emblem as a whole is a tactical RPG, as if you wanted to know that. The new mechanic is like you can summon different heroes from the past games, and they can fight alongside you like some JoJo stand, or I think you fuse with them. I'm not too sure. Or you use like their weapons or powers, and I guess that's how it goes. Like we only saw like snippets of it, and there's like they're sharing clips of it on Twitter slowly. Recently we have like some mage / martial artist monk character that they showed off. Like she's a healer, but she will knock you the fuck out. And yeah, no, I'm really excited for it. I already put my pre-order deposit for it. And yeah, more Fire Emblem is great. I'm here for it.
Fire Emblem games are like the JRPG version of Nintendo needing to print money. If they want to print like money for all the weebs, they do that. If they want to print money for everyone, they just make Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't have Josh here to talk about this with me, so major sag, but
Much so.
But another one that we are excited for. Like I'm excited for it, but I'm not gonna get it again. Maybe later. Josh is definitely excited for it, and my girlfriend's excited for it. Tales of Symphonia Remastered. There's a bit of controversy with that. Where it's a game that like there's multiple, right? So the game doesn't run at 60 FPS. Because the models are linked to the frame rate, so if you run it at 60 FPS, the game will break. Everyone will do some like spinny thing, because they're like broken.
So what you're telling me is you run it at that to have fun.
Yeah, essentially. the game just falls apart if you try to run it at 60 FPS. So that's why but that's the PS2 version of the game that they're porting. The original GameCube version can run at 60, which is why everyone's like, why aren't you porting over that version instead?
It's a bit strange, yeah.
Yeah, and my problem is that Tales of Symphonia back on the PS3 when they ported it came with its sequel, which came out on the Wii. They never did that again with when they released it on PC, and now this, which is really strange, especially with the price they're selling it at, like $89 AUD. So I'm just like, look, I'd get it again, but I already have the game on Steam. I got it for $6. So what else has been announced on that Nintendo Direct?
Tunic, which is one of the games that I know one of our friends have played, and I've only heard good things about, is getting on the Switch. It looks like one of those games that's perfect for the Switch. Sort of in that Zelda-like, but, it had very cute art and style, and yeah, I think that's like just a home run. I love these little indies that end up on the Switch, because the Switch just feels like the indie console. Like, it's just perfect for all these small little games you can play in bed or on the go and everything. I think that's cool. It Takes Two is coming to the Switch, and we know the Switch is also one of the kings of co-op games, so that's just... I I was surprised originally when that didn't release. I actually looked for it on the Switch, so that's just an easy home run. Charbs, are there any games you saw out of this you were actually interested in, or any other games you were thinking of?
Honestly, it's
So otherwise, I'm going to pass it over Anth because I know there's a small little game that we got some gameplay of.
I mean, look, I'll be honest. The new Zelda is something I'm absolutely keen for.
Yeah, of course.
It Takes Two, I think, is perfect for the Switch.
I was surprised that wasn't on the Switch to begin with.
I mean,
I'm definitely getting
kind
it
of
for
was
Switch.
too. But this was a less interesting direct for me. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be one of those people that actually, like, gives a shit that nothing I like got announced, but, you know, I do wish...
There's only hundreds and hundreds of games.
Yeah, like, there's going to be plenty more directs, and I can't wait to see what they have in the future.
I think you're a person that needs more Switch games either. Just quietly.
I've got, like, I only have a backlog of, like, 80 games, or some shit like that on the Switch.
Jesus.
And there are people with bigger backlogs.
So, Anf, I know there's one little game that you were excited to see some more gameplay of.
Which one?
It's got a 3 in its name. Alright, do I have to get more? Bayonetta 3.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, enthusiastic.
Bayonetta 3.
That didn't go as well as I planned.
Look, I'm excited for Bayonetta 3, but I'm not getting it on launch. Like, it's one of those games I'll probably get later because, I got priorities. But yeah, it looks good. It looks good. Like, I've played Bayonetta 1 and 2. 2 is still one of my favorites. I liked 2. It's a solid, like, beat 'em up hack and slash sort of game. Like, if you enjoyed games like Nier Automata or I guess Devil May Cry, it'll be up your alley. The game I'm excited for that got a release date from the Nintendo Direct was Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Oh, not Rebirth. That's the one coming up later on. Reunion.
So what is Crisis Core?
Crisis Core is the prequel to Final Fantasy VII, set like years before it, and it centralizes around like Zack Fair, who was the he's the second owner of the Buster Sword. Cloud is the third owner.
So is that coming to other platforms?
I understand
as well?
Cloud.
Yep, it's coming to Steam, Xbox, PS4 and 5, and I guess Windows.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm honestly drawing a blank on the trailer. Is it getting the same remake treatment as Final Fantasy VII?
Sort of.
I'll have to look.
It's not a remake. It's a remaster, but it's based on a PSP game, right? Like it's building off that.
I'll have to take a look at it because I actually bought Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, like the bundle with like the remake and then the extra episodes. So I actually want to see it.
Oh yeah. I forgot the name of it's the one with Yuffie,
Recall, whatever. Not Recall. Fucking Intermission or whatever it is.
Don't blame us. Final Fantasy has so many
naming conventions. Oh, Square Enix and your naming
Still
conventions.
Kingdom Hearts.
Look, I'll just say that the Japanese like to use the word "re" in their titles. Like if you look at some of the anime and some of the games, there's re at the front of it, and I don't know why. But yeah, no, Crisis Core is a it's a remaster, but it's based off a PSP game. So by design, it'll feel like a handheld game because there's like a shit ton of side quests, and I guess it's made for that. Like filler side quests, like repetitive. It's meant to be like a game that you're meant to pick up and play. They fixed up the gameplay, and they also did a lot on the visuals. So yeah, if you want to check it out, it's solid.
Alright, well, I think that about does enough for Nintendo, but that's not the only people that had a little video conference. Sony had their state of play, and...
Oh, wait.
Yes.
No, sorry, I was going to say, Sony don't call this the state of play, and I realised you referred to Nintendo's Direct as a state of play.
No,
You
I
just
didn't.
said Nintendo weren't the only ones who had their state of play.
No, I said they weren't a little video. Anyway. So, there was a Sony State of Play, and obviously there was a game they teased a couple weeks ago, Charbs, that was obviously going to be one of the highlights, and that was Tekken 8.
Get ready for the next battle.
Thank God, I can't believe how they keep upgrading the visuals on this. I'm like, what more could they do to the visuals? Then you see it again, and you're like,
Can
what?
I just say, the best thing that has spawned from that announcement is not only the trailer itself, which looks good, but the amount of memes that have come about it. My favorite one, and I want Anf to edit this into it because Anf's editing now, is it's that quote from Kazuya where he's like, no, sorry, from Jin, where he goes, people like us shouldn't exist in the world. And it's just low tier God. Oh God.
There's also one with Microsoft Steve. Minecraft Steve. And it's freaking amazing. I also saw like a resurgence of I don't want to sugarcoat it or whatever it's called. And it's like, damn. I love those ones.
Honestly,
They're so good.
like when it comes to like video game memes, Tekken is fantastic. Like the amount of memes that you can generate from Tekken is fantastic.
There's just people's faces, there's things that happen. They actually have a bit of humor in some of the cutscenes and stuff, and it just leads to a whole lot of... Yeah.
So in addition to that, we saw a new trailer for God of War Ragnarok, which I unfortunately came across, but I'm trying to stay away from it. I want to avoid as much of the game as possible.
You trying to avoid all the spoilers and stuff, yeah.
Are you getting it on day one?
I don't know yet. I honestly don't know yet. But I want to avoid it for as long as possible. Also, Hogwarts Legacy on PS4 and PS5 will have a new quest, which I believe is the Haunted Hogsmeade quest, which looks fucking interesting. That is actually a really cool idea for a quest. I don't know if either of you have seen the Harry Potter movies, but I actually do like that idea.
Yeah, I've seen all of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I just can't remember what a Hogsmeade was because it's been a while.
What?
Oh, is it that fucking
It's the
that fucking bar?
It's the town.
Yeah, it's sort of like Wizard town, but they mainly go to it for like sort of...
Oh, that's where they go to get fucking butterbeer.
Yeah, there we go. Now he's got it.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, sorry. It's just, you know, when you consume so much media, like, throughout the years, you just forget.
You don't need to apologize. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I want to say that I am disappointed in something Sony has done, which I said this on Twitter, but I've grown up with the PlayStation platforms my whole life. So I definitely, I love the brand. But Sony also announced that PSVR 2 will not be backwards compatible with your old PSVR games. And I couldn't think of a way to sum up Sony's current business practices more than that. Ever since I heard that quote from Jim Ryan saying, like, oh, why would people want to play old games at that Gran Turismo event? I was just like, this is the wrong attitude. Like, people care about this shit now. Yeah. And VR is already a niche, and now you're asking people to, like, fucking buy a whole new library of games. Like, they can't...
I would argue VR needs help.
Like, it's... I hate it.
Making it...
Like, it just alienates even more fucking people. And the worst thing is...
Yeah.
I can't remember where I saw this or who said this, but I almost fucking popped a blood vessel reading this. Someone defended it by saying, yeah, but I'm sure plenty of studios are working on ports for their VR 1 games to play on VR 2. And I'm like, that is not an excuse.
They shouldn't have to, that's the point.
And VR is very, very expensive. I don't know many people who will want to own VR 1 and 2.
Like,
yeah.
Man, I don't know. It completely turned me off PSVR 2. Like, I like the idea of VR. I just believe it's got a long way to go before it's in a place where, like, people can take it seriously as a gaming platform. Like, I know for
It feels more now like it's the gimmick. Like, it's not an option. It's more just a gimmick.
like it feels like an arcade game. You play it for a little bit, but you're not gonna get hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of fun out of like each individual one. That's how I feel about it, right? Like, I know for a fact that like when I come home from work, because unfortunately I'm not Jack and I don't get to work from home.
Wait.
The last thing I would want to do is like pop on a helmet, pop on headphones, make sure I have enough room. Like it's just more and more obstacles in between you sitting down and just playing the fucking game.
What's gonna annoy you more than anything after a long day of work where you just want to chill? Probably breaking something when you're trying to chill. I don't know, it's just a strange...
VR is just, it's too niche right now to be considered.
I don't know why the decision has happened like that, really. I just gotta think it's a technical limitation, which just makes you go, of course it is, because that's just what VR is at the moment.
Sorry, like, I was just saying, VR, like, I think it's too niche to be considered, like, a serious gaming platform from a business standpoint. I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket, but at the same time, it's hard to grow it when you're putting up more and more fucking barriers.
Problem. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is just going to make Sony look really bad if the next time, you know, Oculus or someone else comes out with a fucking VR headset, if they can play, like, all their old, like, all the games they used to play with their original headset and without any issues.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I honestly think Sony dropped the ball on that one. And I'm someone who loves the PlayStation brand. I've got I play on a Sony TV because I think the TVs are fantastic. I've owned every PlayStation since a PS2. I honestly cannot think of any way to defend this.
I feel like it's got to be a technical limitation thing. Which just, makes you wonder why.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, right? Maybe I'm an asshole for saying this, but I don't like using that as an excuse. I don't like hearing that as an excuse, because...
No, I understand why you say that. That's the only logical reason I would
honestly hope that is the reason, but I still would be like, you're Sony, you have some of the best...
It's a bit scummy,
You have some of the best, like, and brightest minds in the industry. You're telling me you couldn't get around that? And the worst thing is, I guarantee you, if Sony can't do it, there's probably, like, some modder in Eastern Europe that will. There was actually I'm not going to spend too long on this because I think we need to wrap up soon, but there was actually a comment made from a Bloodborne modder who said to make the game 60 FPS, they would only need to change 2 lines of code. And I can't think of anything that would piss off people more than a game that people wanted to have a high frame rate, not having that high frame rate because it looks like they were kind of too lazy to do it. I know that's obviously not the reason, and obviously, you know, understanding game development a bit more than most people, like, I know it's not literally 2 lines of code because there's a lot of stuff you have to actually do when you push a game to market, including a fuck ton of testing, but like, I think it could have been done. I honestly think it should have been given like a PS4 Pro version or a PS5 upgrade at least. And like, the funny thing is, I know off the top of my head, I can think of at least maybe 6-7 people who have said like, oh, if Bloodborne got like a PS5 upgrade or a PS5 version, I'd go back to it, or I'd actually play it.
I'm one of them. I've put off replaying the game because I expect it at this point.
Yeah.
And I continue to be disappointed. Maybe that's my problem. One last thing before I wrap up with Sony side of things. They did give us a little sneak peek on the PlayStation Stars rewards program, which we'll see. we'll see. I don't feel we have enough. You know, just gonna have a sneak peek on some of the stuff, but there's not enough really to go into that.
Yeah.
But we're almost out of time. But I want to give a quick shout out to Cyberpunk, which seems to be making a comeback after all this time. I know you liked it, Anth, but you were maybe a minority in that space.
I liked it, but I was critical of it.
So, they literally have passed their concurrent players at 136,000 last week. Have become Steam's top-selling game, despite the fact it released in December 2020. Oof. And, yeah, they're just basically absolutely knocking out of the park. And this shows you that if you give, you know, as we all agree, the game probably should have been delayed from the start. I mean, it was delayed, should have been delayed again. And,
yeah,
you know, the game needed more time in the oven, and it's getting the time in the oven, and it's just rewards. Part of this also is apparently the, well, it's definitely part of why it's being so popular, is the Cyberpunk Edge Runners series on Netflix.
The anime, yeah.
That's just generated a whole heap of traction for them, so...
I'm like halfway into Edge Runners, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like,
I've only heard good things about it. People were comparing it to the League of Legends one that its name escapes me. Was it Arcane?
Yeah.
Arcane, yeah.
Yeah, so like it's good. So I think that shows you the potential for games to get onto media, and guess what, guys? Doesn't have to be a crappy 2-hour movie.
Like it wasn't just Arcane, right? There was also like Castlevania.
Oh, there's been plenty, but you know that's like the last big one that I can remember that's doing well. So
yeah,
you know, Cyberpunk, they've been putting in the effort to try and, you know, get it together, and all the devs, all their work's paying off finally, even if it didn't to begin with.
I'm hoping like it, like when I go back to it.
I've been looking at Cyberpunk. My problem is they still have so many more patches they're planning on doing. I almost don't want to start it until they are almost done patching it, because I know they're going to overhaul the police system. They're doing more upgrades just across the board. They're releasing more quests, more weapons, and the DLC that'll come later. So
I'd wait till the DLC comes out, to be honest.
But yeah, I just think it's good to call it out. That about wraps us up for time. I might have ranted too long. Apologies.
All good. Someone has to edit this.
Yep, that'll be you, Am.
Haha.
Alright,
guys. Well, that'll be us. Signing off.
Signing off.
Signing off.